Hello friends, welcome to all of you on my channel. Today, I brought to you a new episode of Relationship Advice, which is based on the story. Before starting the video, I request to my new friends, please subscribe to this channel and also hit the bell icon so that you can get my upcoming video notifications first. Let's start the video. Relationship story. Posted by ThrowRadRye. My husband's ex-girlfriend recently reached out to me about my husband sleeping with her back in February. Now she's pregnant. Since November my husband has been working a lot, and over time it started to affect our marriage, especially since he had to skip most of Thanksgiving Day, Christmas and New Year's / my birthday for work trips. It got worse in February. He missed Valentine's Day. Now my husband has always been especially romantic even on Valentine's Day. Even if we had a fight he still put an effort in to prove how much he loves me. This year we had an ever bigger fight about him not being around as much because of his work. He didn't seem to care and went on another business trip 4 days before Valentine's Day. I never got anything from him. We hardly talked. When he went away this time the kids were upset that their dad hadn't called to talk to them. At the end of the month, he called to tell me he was heading home in a couple of days and wanted us to go away for a few days to work on things. Even though I was hesitant at first, I eventually agreed. While we were away he agreed to cut down on his hours and go on less trips. We both agreed on counseling, which we started. When we got back, it really did help us improve our marriage. I did bring up the fact I had been cheated on in the past. My husband knows this, being I also have a kid with my ex, and it was an occurring thought for me. My husband was asked during several sessions if he had been with other women, and every single time he was consistent with his answer, "No, I'm very happy with my wife." I believed him. Just a couple days ago his ex reached out to me to tell me that my husband had been sleeping with her from December right through to February, and no, she was pregnant, but he had been ghosting her since she found out she was pregnant. Apparently she recently became a client of her, and he asked her to join him on his business trips to get some alone time. This has devastated me, but I can't ask him yet because for the first time in months he is on a short business trip again. This may sound rude, but in the past, or for other reasons, I have had to go into his work phone. I was going to check his work phone, considering he would not text her from his personal phone, but recently he has made it a thing of leaving his work phone at his office. He has never left it at his office before, and he never takes it with him on his trips. So I'm starting to get suspicious considering how everything adds up. I have heard from some people that his ex could be lying. Several people from his workplace have told me he didn't want her as a client at first, and that even when no one else could take her on, he very much kept everything professional. Close friends have also been telling me that for a couple months she was jumping into any bed to sleep with anyone. To me, I don't know who to believe. My husband's ex was never crazy or anything after they broke up and practically didn't speak to him until recently, but at the same time there should not be a reason for her to know when he was away on trip unless he told her. Some people think I'm being stupid for believing her, but considering what she has told me, his attitude, behavior and constant business trips are saying something else. Now, readers gives best suggestion to OP on this situation. During therapy, ask him again if he cheated. When he says no, tell him his ex is pregnant and watch his reaction. If he has a sudden look of horror, fire the therapist and hire a lawyer. Ask her if she's willing to take a paternity test in the meantime, while your husband is away. If she says yes, then it'll look bad for your husband. If she says yes, ask him during therapy if he's cheated. Then ask why he didn't tell you that he was working with an ex, taking her on business trips, and that she is apparently pregnant. If he says he didn't ask him to take a paternity test. Better yet, if he suggests without being asked, he will look a little less sus. Sorry op, this is a terrible situation, good luck. Well, before you do anything really drastic, I would say gather potential evidence. First off, ask her for proof. If they met over several months as she claims, then surely she has a text or something akin to it that might prove his infidelity. Second way of finding out as suggested below and slightly more hands-on. Tell your husband his ex is pregnant and gauge his reaction. Your gut is usually right. What does yours tell you? Sounds like you know the answer. He's been acting sketchy since December, and her timeline matches up. You noticed his physical and emotional absence during this time period. It's likely not a coincidence. There's no real reason why she would have this information, unless he was telling her. It's also entirely possible his friends are covering for him. Tell him in therapy that she reached out to you and is pregnant. See his reaction. Ask him if he'll take a paternity test. I'd also ask her for evidence or proof. But if she was never crazy after their breakup, why would she have an incentive to lie about it now? He's hiding his phone from you. He ignored you and your children while on a business trip. He's probably cheating. First, he is staring down a conflict of interest ethical violation by taking her in as a client. On the other hand, how credible is this ex? She could be lying just to wreck your marriage. Ask for receipts, dates for business trips, and any cogent evidence. Finally, have your husband verify that he took her on as a client and that they took business trips together. Then go from there. It sure sounds like your husband is lying. He's acting really suspicious. Women's intuition is a powerful thing. Like others have said, if he's innocent, he'll offer to take a test right away. I recall a post the other day where someone's cousin was trying to say their boyfriend impregnated her. Her BF wanted to do the paternity test right away to prove his innocence. If your husband tries to play it off or isn't willing to take one, then I'm willing to bet that this girl is telling the truth. Reading your post makes me believe that she is already, though. A lot of people in the comments are saying demand a paternity test, but you're not going to get one anytime soon, so don't rely on this to resolve your issues. Getting a paternity test now, while his ex is still pregnant, would require an invasive procedure that involves sticking a long needle into the placenta. The chances of her agreeing to that are slim to none, especially if she's lying and trying to prolong things. This issue is squarely between you and your husband right now. Update: my husband's ex-girlfriend recently reached out to me about my husband sleeping with her back in February. Now she's pregnant. Finally, sitting down to do this update between everyday chores and the craziness of start of the school year. It's been hectic. I didn't mean to take so long to do an update. Firstly, I want to thank everyone for their feedback and lovely comments. It has definitely helped. My mind was seriously making me so angry and depressed I actually didn't know what to do. Someone who works for my husband knew about the ex, saw this post, figured out it was me, and the day my husband came back to town he made a trip to the office first. His co-worker told him what happened, so by the time my husband got home he knew that I came on here to write my post. He was extremely angry, not with me but his ex. He pretty much sat me down the moment he got home and told me everything. From what he told me, since September of last year my husband's boss did some major cut down on employees. The business had started to lose massive amount of money, so several people were let go. My husband had to pick up the slack for not only himself but 3 others. It got to the point he was working himself. He started getting depressed and had a I don't care anymore attitude. By the time the excessive work trips started, his boss was making him pile on several new clients list onto his schedule that he could handle. From then for a couple months he would see double the amount of clients during the day before heading back to his hotel room to where he drank until he passed out. This made him super angry at himself, and he was slowly starting to hate who he was and what he did. When he had his ex as his client he kept things blunt and would only talk business with her. They only had 4 meetings, and even then he told me she constantly tried flirting with him. He always just ignored her anyway and kept things professional. He also told that she was never on his business trip with him. He doesn't know how she got his schedule. He never told her, and that's supposed to be kept between himself and his boss anyway. He also offered that the next day I could go to work with him and collect his work phone. So I did. Everything was kept professional. There was anything to suggest anything going on between them. He also told me he tried talking to his boss more than once about his ex being his client and being home with his family more. His boss gave him ultimatums: continue working or breach his contract and be sued. By mid-January he thought about just taking off because he couldn't deal with anything anymore, but thankfully another co-worker picked up on his behavior and referred him to a therapist, going to the first few appointments with him, but sat outside the door until he was done. My husband slowly made progress and his therapist helped him work on himself before moving on to the topic of our family and me, which his therapist suggested a trip for both of us. He also didn't tell me any of this at the time because he didn't feel ready to admit how shit he had been feeling. He thought keeping it bottled up was better. He also said he would happily take a paternity test to prove his innocence. His ex on the other hand, even though I have texted her, she told me again my husband gave her his schedule when he was away and asked her for text messages between them, and she said she would send them to me. It's been a week, I haven't heard anything. I also asked her for a paternity test and she agreed, but has pretty much been ghosting me since then. A lot of other people have asked her for evidence, but she continues to tell them she isn't making anything up, but won't prove anything. She continues to text my husband about meeting up, but their contract ended months ago, so there is no reason for her to still contact him. I'm actually starting to believe that when she found out she was pregnant, she thought she didn't know the father and had to make up a story to cover her ass. I feel stupid for actually letting her get to me, but at the same time things weren't adding up for my husband. I don't know if she noticed this and took a chance, or if now she will start to act all crazy. Please remind me if I forgot to add anything. Edit. Just so people know, he did let me see the bills from each of his therapist appointments, and his co-worker is a woman that has a girlfriend at home. Plus I also know that she is someone a lot of people can go to for help. Edit 2. Some people think it's shady my husband didn't tell me about the therapy, and like one person said they would deal with their problems themselves. My husband has this same thought process. For him, yes, it's embarrassing to admit he is seeing a therapist. This for me isn't shady, it's just the way he is. As for his co-worker telling him, I wouldn't be surprised he was giving him a heads up before I blindsided him with his ex contacting me. Relationship story. Posted by Throra 6 years. 6 years ago, I, 27 female, walked in on my former best friend, 27 female, and ex-boyfriend, 34 male, sleeping together. She's now back in my life and I don't know how to deal with it. Like the title says, I walked in on my now former best friend, Victoria, sleeping with my now ex-boyfriend 6 years ago. I had only been dating my ex for 6 months, but the betrayal still hurt. I was living with Victoria at the time, but luckily our lease was month to month, so I was able to move out quickly. I ended up moving back home with my parents. I completely cut contact with both Victoria and my ex, and the last I heard of them was that they had started dating when I moved home. In the past 6 years, I met someone new, and we've been married for just under a year now. My husband, 28, knows all about what happened between Victoria / my ex. Last Saturday, my husband's best friend, Julian, 28, invited us out for lunch because he wanted to introduce us to his new girlfriend. Well, his new girlfriend is Victoria. Victoria spent the whole lunch gushing about how much she missed me and telling Julian all of the good memories we had had together. She made it seem like we had just drifted apart after I moved, instead of her betraying me. Julian is a really nice guy and I didn't want to hurt him by making a scene, so I ended up faking sick so I could leave early. When we got home, my husband asked if I wanted him to tell Julian what happened, but I'm not sure if that would be fair to him. I know people can change, but seeing her again just brought the betrayal and hurt all back again. How do I deal with having to see her again? TLDR, my husband's best friend is dating my former best friend who slept with my ex-boyfriend. I'm over it / him, but seeing her again brought all of the old hurt back again. Now, readers gives best suggestion to OP on this situation. I think you should have your boyfriend dispassionately and factually tell his best friend what happened. I wanted to tell you something kind of awkward. Throw 6 years left our lunch early the other day because actually the reason she and Victoria aren't friends anymore is because she walked in on Victoria sleeping with throw 6 years boyfriend at the time. They were living together, so throw 6 years had to move out and it was really uncomfortable. Honestly, it's unlikely we'll continue to hang out with Victoria given what happened, though of course we'll attend group events and not be weird, but I doubt any more double dates will happen. I'd tell him what happened and that it makes you uncomfortable being around her. If you had to fake sick to leave early this time, then it's going to be awkward again the next time too. You don't have to slander her like crazy, just tell the truth. Basically what you wrote above. Julian needs to know what kind of person he's dating. Maybe she has changed. Highly unlikely since she pretended it never happened. But he needs to know the possibility she is still a backstabbing homewrecker exists so that he can make his own choices. He also needs to know why you won't be having him around if Victoria is with him. Otherwise he will find himself being distanced from his best friend without even knowing why. Julian deserves the truth. Much respect for not starting off the lunch date with "let me tell you about my history with this bitch." Also tell him he can make his decision from there on out whether to continue the relationship or not, but everyone deserves to know the truth of your history as friends if they continue to date and be in your life. Also, I'm sorry this has come back around to hurt you again, and you do not deserve that. I would just tell him something like this. The reason Victoria and I haven't seen each other for so long is that back when V and I were roommates, she slept with my boyfriend. It really hurt me, so I ended the friendship and moved out. The only reason I'm telling you this is that I really don't feel comfortable being around her. I've moved in with my life, and I'm very happy with my husband, and I just really don't want to be reminded of a 6-year-old betrayal. I'm not expecting you to do anything about this, and I really hope she has changed. I'm not the same person I was then, and I hope that's true for her too. I'm just letting you know, so you won't think you did anything wrong. If my husband spent time with you on his own, and I step back a bit, so I can avoid seeing Victoria. If he's your husband's best friend, there will be more dinners and lunches and evenings spent together with Victoria, unless you tell him the truth now. Just lay out the facts as neutrally as you can, while establishing that you'd rather not see her. What Julian does with that information is up to him. If he calls and wants more details, give them to him, but try to phrase any answers more like "it really hurt me" as opposed to "that skank ass bitch stole my boyfriend." If you demonize a side of that Julian is unfamiliar with, he could easily get defensive, as he could interpret it as you saying he's a bad judge of character or has poor taste. Good luck. So friends, how did you like today's story? Comment below, and if you find the video interesting, then like and share this video. If you have not subscribed to the channel yet, press the subscribe button and also hit the bell icon, because I keep making videos like this. So friends, that's all in today's video. I meet you again in new video with new story. Till then, take care of your and keep watching the Story Station.